Breaking news. Conflict erupts. Violence flares between Israel and Lebanon, marking a dangerous escalation. Missiles light up the sky, tracing deadly arcs of destruction. Reports paint a grim picture of the escalating conflict. Fear grips the region as residents find themselves caught in the crossfire. The Israel-Lebanon border has long been a tinderbox. The current eruption is the latest chapter in this decades-long saga. The roots of the conflict run deep, intertwined with issues of land, security, and identity. Hezbollah's rise to prominence in Lebanon added another layer of complexity. The international community faces the urgent need to navigate the complexities of this volatile region. To grasp the gravity of the current conflict, one must journey back in time. The creation of the State of Israel in 1948 cast a long shadow over the region. The 1967 Six-Day War further inflamed tensions. The Lebanese people, caught in the crossfire, paid a heavy price. Against this volatile landscape, Hezbollah emerged. Founded in 1982, its goals were to resist Israeli occupation and defend Lebanon. Hezbollah quickly gained popularity among Lebanon's Shiite population. The group's resistance to Israeli occupation transformed it into a formidable force. Hezbollah's steadfast resistance culminated in Israel's withdrawal from southern Lebanon in 2000. The year 2006 marked a turning point in the Israel-Lebanon conflict. The war, sparked by a Hezbollah cross-border raid, escalated rapidly. Israel launched a massive offensive against Lebanon. Hezbollah responded with a barrage of rockets into northern Israel. The conflict resulted in significant casualties and widespread destruction. The war ended with a UN-brokered ceasefire but failed to address underlying issues. As news of the conflict spread, international condemnation erupted. World leaders issued urgent calls for restraint and dialogue. The United States expressed support for Israel while urging restraint. The European Union called for an immediate cessation of hostilities. Protests and demonstrations around the world demanded an end to the bloodshed. Diplomatic efforts are underway to broker a ceasefire. International envoys are engaging in frantic diplomacy. The United States is playing a leading role in the diplomatic push. France and Egypt are also actively engaged in diplomatic efforts. The deep mistrust between the parties makes finding a lasting solution challenging. The shadow of past failures looms large over the current efforts. The region's history is littered with broken ceasefires and failed peace initiatives. The Oslo Accords and the Camp David Summit failed to deliver lasting peace. The 2006 Lebanon War did little to address the underlying causes of the conflict. The repeated failures have led to a sense of fatigue and resignation. The human cost of the Israel-Lebanon conflict is immeasurable. Behind the statistics lie shattered lives and broken families. The United Nations estimates significant civilian casualties. The physical and psychological scars will take far longer to heal. Humanitarian aid organizations are working tirelessly to provide relief. The plight of children stands as a stark indictment of the conflict. UNICEF estimates that many children have been displaced. The disruption of education and healthcare compounds their plight. Many suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder and other mental health issues. The international community must prioritize the protection of children. Ensuring their safe passage and access to essential services is crucial. Section 3. Displacement and despair, uprooted lives and uncertain futures. The relentless bombardment and the ensuing chaos have triggered a mass exodus of civilians from their homes, transforming once vibrant communities into ghost towns. The United Nations estimates that insert latest estimated number, people have been internally displaced within Lebanon, seeking refuge in schools, mosques, churches, and other makeshift shelters. These displaced families face a myriad of challenges. Overcrowded shelters, inadequate sanitation, and limited access to food, water, and medical care create breeding grounds for disease and despair. The loss of homes, livelihoods, and social networks further compounds their suffering, leaving them feeling vulnerable, hopeless, and uncertain about the future. The international community must step up its efforts to provide humanitarian assistance to those displaced by the conflict. This includes providing financial aid to support host communities, scaling up the delivery of essential goods and services, and creating safe and dignified living conditions for displaced families. The long-term consequences of displacement are profound. The loss of homes, livelihoods, and social networks can have devastating effects on individuals, families, and communities, leading to increased poverty, social unrest, and a cycle of instability that can take generations to break. Section 4. The crumbling facade, infrastructure, and ruins. The Israel-Lebanon conflict has not only claimed countless lives and displaced hundreds of thousands, but it has also left a trail of destruction across Lebanon's already fragile infrastructure. The relentless bombardment has reduced homes, schools, hospitals, and other essential infrastructure to rubble, crippling the country's ability to provide basic services to its citizens. The country's power grid has been severely damaged, resulting in widespread power outages that have crippled businesses, disrupted daily life, and hampered the delivery of essential services. Hospitals, already overwhelmed by the influx of casualties, are struggling to function with limited electricity, water, and medical supplies. The destruction of roads, bridges, and other transportation networks has further isolated communities, hindering the delivery of humanitarian aid and impeding access to essential services. The World Bank estimates that the conflict has caused billions of dollars in damage to Lebanon's infrastructure, further exacerbating the country's economic woes. The international community must prioritize the rehabilitation and reconstruction of Lebanon's infrastructure. This includes providing financial assistance, technical expertise, and material support to rebuild homes, schools, hospitals, and other essential infrastructure. The reconstruction process should be guided by the principles of sustainability, resilience, and inclusivity, ensuring that it benefits all segments of Lebanese society. Section 1. Charting a Way Forward, the Quest for a Lasting Peace. As the international community grapples with the latest eruption of violence between Israel and Lebanon, the question on everyone's mind is, what next? The path to a lasting peace in this volatile region remains elusive, fraught with obstacles and shadowed by decades of mistrust and animosity. Yet, amidst the rubble and despair, a glimmer of hope persists, fueled by the realization that the alternative, perpetual conflict and human suffering, is simply unacceptable. A lasting peace, one that ensures the security and prosperity of both Israelis and Lebanese, requires a fundamental shift in mindset, a departure from the zero-sum game that has characterized the conflict for far too long. It demands a recognition of the legitimate aspirations and grievances of both sides, a willingness to engage in dialogue and compromise, and a commitment to finding common ground. The international community has a crucial role to play in facilitating this process. This includes providing a platform for dialogue, mediating between the parties, and offering incentives for cooperation. It also requires holding all sides accountable for their actions, condemning human rights abuses, and ensuring that international law is upheld. A lasting peace cannot be imposed from the outside. It must be built from within. It requires the active participation of civil society, religious leaders, women, and youth, who can bridge divides, foster reconciliation, and build a shared future based on mutual respect and understanding. A fractured region, geopolitical fault lines, and proxy wars. The Israel-Lebanon conflict cannot be viewed in isolation. It is deeply intertwined with the complex geopolitical dynamics of the Middle East, a region riven by sectarian tensions, proxy wars, and competing regional ambitions. The involvement of external actors, each with its own agenda and interests, adds another layer of complexity to an already volatile mix. Iran, through its support of Hezbollah, plays a significant role in shaping the dynamics of the conflict. Tehran views Hezbollah as a crucial ally in its regional power struggle with Israel and the United States, providing the group with financial, military, and logistical support. Israel, for its part, views Iran's involvement as a direct threat to its national security, fueling its determination to counter Hezbollah's growing military capabilities. The ongoing civil war in Syria, which has spilled over into Lebanon, has further exacerbated tensions. Hezbollah's military intervention in support of the Syrian regime has drawn condemnation from Israel, which fears that the group is using the conflict to acquire advanced weaponry and expand its influence along its border. The rivalry between Saudi Arabia and Iran, which plays out on multiple fronts across the region, also casts a long shadow over the Israel-Lebanon conflict. Riyadh views Hezbollah as an Iranian proxy and a threat to its regional interests, providing financial and political support to groups opposed to Hezbollah in Lebanon. The Israel-Lebanon conflict is a stark reminder of the enduring legacy of the past, of unresolved grievances, and of the human cost of hatred and intolerance. Yet, amidst the despair, there is also hope. Hope that the people of the region, weary of conflict and yearning for a better future, will find a way to break the cycle of violence and build a future based on peace, justice, and reconciliation. The international community must support and encourage these efforts, providing a platform for dialogue, offering incentives for cooperation, and holding all sides accountable for their actions. The path to peace will be long and arduous, but the alternative, perpetual conflict and human suffering, is simply unacceptable. The people of Israel and Lebanon deserve a future free from fear, a future where their children can grow up in safety and security, and where they can realize their full potential. Achieving this vision requires courage, compassion, and an unwavering commitment to dialogue, reconciliation, and the pursuit of a just and lasting peace. The weight of history may be heavy, but the hope for the future remains, a beacon guiding us towards a brighter tomorrow. The urgency of now a call to action. The world watches, holding its breath as the Israel-Lebanon conflict blazes on, a searing indictment of humanity's capacity for destruction. The images are tragically familiar, smoldering ruins where homes once stood, the heart-wrenching pleas of mothers mourning their children, a region teetering on the precipice of chaos. We cannot afford to let history repeat itself. The urgency of now demands action, decisive and unwavering. This is not a conflict that can be relegated to the back pages of newspapers or the fleeting attention span of a 24-hour news cycle. The international community, armed with the lessons of past failures, must recognize its responsibility to be more than just a passive observer. The time for empty rhetoric and finger-pointing is long gone. What we need now is a concerted effort, a unified voice demanding an immediate ceasefire. Humanitarian aid, a lifeline for the innocent caught in the crossfire, must be allowed to flow freely and unimpeded. Hospitals overflowing with the injured, families huddled in makeshift shelters, children robbed of their innocence. These are not just statistics, they are human beings, their lives hanging in the balance. The world is watching, and history will judge us by our actions, not our words. Let us choose the path of peace, not because it is easy, but because it is right. Let us choose to be architects of a future where hope triumphs over despair, where dialogue replaces the deafening roar of rockets, and where the children of Israel and Lebanon can finally inherit a future worthy of their dreams. Echoes of hope, a shared future yet to be written. Despite the current darkness, amidst the ruins and recriminations, faint echoes of hope can still be heard. They resonate in the tireless efforts of humanitarian workers, risking their lives to alleviate suffering. They echo in the voices of mothers on both sides of the conflict, united in their grief and their yearning for peace. And they whisper in the hearts of those who dare to envision a different future, a future where the echoes of war are replaced by the laughter of children. This shared future, though seemingly distant, is not a utopian dream. It exists in the fragile possibility of dialogue, in the courage to confront the painful legacies of the past, and in the recognition that true security lies not in military might, but in mutual respect and understanding. The journey towards this future will be long and arduous, fraught with setbacks and disappointments. It will demand unwavering commitment, a willingness to challenge long-held assumptions, and a recognition that true peace requires more than just the absence of war. It demands the presence of justice, equality, and opportunity for all. Let us draw inspiration from the words of Nelson Mandela, who emerged from the shadow of apartheid to lead his nation towards reconciliation. No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin, or his background, or his religion. People must learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. For love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. The path ahead is clear, but the choice is ours to make. Will we continue down the path of destruction, our legacy one of violence and despair? Or will we choose the path of peace, our legacy one of hope and a future where the echoes of war are replaced by the sweet symphony of peace?